Yo family, welcome back to another video. Yes, we are reacting. We are reacting to another video, but today it's a bit more related to the content we usually do on this channel. We are reacting to why Fortnite pros get worse at 18 years old. If you've been watching this channel, you know that I fucking suck at Fortnite. I'm actually shit. I had this uphill moment around chapter 2. Last chapter 2, the OG chapter 2, and then yeah, it just since OG came up, just down. So we're gonna find out why me at the big age of 20 suck at Fortnite. Let's go. This is Ray's Hub. If you watch Fortnite related content, you probably know of this man. Check his links down below, and let's go.
The oldest FNCS champion is 24 years old, and I mean that was an OCE, so it doesn't really count. The vast majority of professional players fall between 16 and 18 years old. There's a common myth in competitive Fortnite that once you turn 18, you begin to get worse, and I'm 30, so...
Right, yeah.
But the signs...
I pretty much am 30. Like, I get called Unc by my friends who are 2 years younger than me. 2 or 1 year younger than me, and I get called the Unc just because I'm 20. Like... It's unfair, man. It's really unfair.
It doesn't really back this up. When most people think of characteristics that decline with age, the first one that comes to mind is reaction.
You know what? Oh, fuck. I was gonna say reaction time is probably like the most important. It's so like when someone shoots you from far, you need to build that shit up real quick. When like someone is doing something like a pre-fire or anything, reaction time is always there. So yeah, reaction time. I also say awareness. I feel like awareness is also like important, but I feel like awareness, do you have more awareness when you're younger? I don't know, I'm not sure, but yeah, reaction time, awareness, that's all I have.
Time, as this typically starts to get worse when you reach somewhere between 20 to 30 years of age. There are slow and gradual decreases over time. However, this doesn't mean that just because you're older that your reaction times are bad. In this study, the best reaction time was actually recorded by someone in their mid-50s, with many participants still having very good reaction times even into their 70s. But reaction time is actually a horrible indicator of performance. A typical way to measure this is to focus on a specific area, and once the object appears, the participant must click, and the time between that is then measured. For a game like Valorant or Counter-Strike, this is pretty important because holding angles and peaks happen very, very regularly. But in Fortnite, there's just so much going on at all times that simple tests of reaction times don't necessarily demonstrate players' skill very well. That's why across a lot of studies, look doing latency has been found to be one of the key factors in esport players' success.
What the fuck is look doing what the fuck does that even mean? I know 2 of the 3 words that are used in this shit. What the fuck is latency? What the fuck is that?
Look doing latency is essentially the time it takes you to assess your ever-changing environment and then make a decision. In Fortnite, your character only has a certain field of view, so if your character...
So it's what? Adaptability? Is that what it means?
Turns to look in a different direction, the time it takes for your brain to read and understand this new information and then make a decision is look doing latency. This also happens in...
I mean, it is quite it's kind of like adaptability, but more complicated than that. Okay, I see.
And the player takes your eyes off the crosshair of the screen to check the minimap or their loadout, as not only do they have to take in that new information, but by the time they've looked back at their crosshair, their environment could be completely different, so they then again have to take in that new information. During a single game of Fortnite, there are hundreds, if not thousands of times where a look doing latency cycle will occur. And the lower this delay is, the better your awareness will be and the faster you can become. So if, like me, you're wobbling about in the end game with absolutely no clue what's going on, look doing latency could be a massive factor. Luckily, there's actually been a ton of research on this, and unfortunately, this starts to decrease at age 24. It will differ from person to person, though. The main study...
Yeah, I think it decreased. I don't think I've ever had it. I don't think I've ever had a good look doing latency. Yeah,
just titled Over the Hill at 24, found that a typical bronze League of Legends player at age 39, equal in all other respects to a 24-year-old player, can be expected to be around 150 milliseconds slower in their typical look doing latencies. Now, if we make an assumption that there are 500 look doing cycles in a typical competitive Fortnite match, this is a total of 75 seconds of delay that the older player has to account for. And the TLDR of this, if you didn't understand any of that, is that a typical 39-year-old is roughly 15 15% slower than a 24-year-old. Many traits such as aim and mechanics can also be trained, which may make you believe that there's some way to practice your look doing latency to prevent this decreasing over time. However, unfortunately, this study also found no link between experience and practice with an increase of look doing latency. So there appears
pretty much if you're low on look doing latency, you gotta firm it. It's done. You have that shit. It's done. You can't improve it. Damn, that's fucking
be absolutely
crazy.
Zero way to prevent this decline from happening. So is that it? You're 24. Your career's over. Can't even hit a triple edit anymore. You're failing your bloodline, and you're destined to live the rest of your life alone and miserable.
Okay.
Or something like that. So how am I at 30 years old? Still improving slowly. Some would say very slowly, I understand that, but I am still getting better. Well, that's just simply because of skill development. Academic psychologists seem to be the most productive and are at their peak at around 40 years of age. Now, of course, Fortnite is maybe a little bit different of a task than that. However, most professions also peak around this age as well. Let's say a skill ceiling of the best a Fortnite player could possibly ever get, and compare two players against this. Player A, who's completely average, and player B, who's a professional. The better you get something, the longer it will take to improve. So for the sake of this example, let's say that after 3 years of practice, player A will be at 60% of the best a player will ever be at Fortnite. Then let's say for the next 5 years, they improve 2% every year and then 1% every year after that. So for our non-professional player, let's say after 10 years of practice, they'll be at 72% of the human limit. And remember, these are just entirely made up for this example. So what's the difference with a pro? Well, in a previous video I covered on genetics, I found that on average, professional gamers increase their own skill significantly faster than the average player, even with the exact same amount of practice over time. So player B, our pro, may be at 80% of the skill ceiling after the 3 years, compared to player A's 60%. Let's just assume they follow a similar progression following that. So after 3 years, player B will be significantly better than player A will ever get. But what happens when both of their look doing latencies starts to get worse at age 24? Let's assume that both players started at the age of 14 and after 10 years of practice are both 24. From then until they're 30,
I'm kind of getting lost.
look doing latencies starts to get worse at age 24.
Okay.
Let's assume that both players started at the age of 14 and after 10 years of practice are both 24. From then until they're 39, their look doing latency on average will be decreased by 15%, as we already know. But that doesn't mean their skill will decrease by 15%. In fact, the parts of our brains that are responsible for knowledge, such as reading, math, science, vocabulary, history, and all that kind of stuff, all continue to improve until we're approximately 60 years old. So assuming both players increase by another, let's say like a random number, 7% over this 15-year period till the time that they're 39, the negative impacts that the look doing latency decrease will have may only reduce this by a 2 or 3% negative.
So basically the fact that their skill is still improving is going to counter the fact that their look doing latency is decreasing. So instead of the overall graph just being like this, it might be like this, because this is the look doing latency and the skill improving. If you didn't understand.
Impact. Given many jobs around the world peak in their 40s, it's safe to assume that the improvement of skill outweighs the negative effects of aging until somewhere in your 40s. So up until their late 30s, at least, players should continue to increase their overall skill, which as someone continually, yet slowly, as I may have already mentioned, improving at 30 years old, I can absolutely attest to this. So why are there only a handful of competitive esports players over the age of 30, and specifically why do Fortnite players get worse at 18? Well, this actually, for the most part, has nothing to do with their actual physical aging. The reality is, it's probably not even worth trying to become a professional Fortnite player. There's only 100 players in the world with over $250,000 in earnings, and if we start from 2019, where competitive really began and became consistent, that means there's only 100 players in the world who have earned consistently $50,000 a year on average. For teenagers and for adults in certain parts of the world, this is a great salary. However, for the vast majority of players, there's already a slim chance that you're a top 100 player in the world, and it's just a much better investment of your time to try a completely different career path. Now, this risk is kind of worth taking as your teenager, because most teenagers don't have bills to pay and mouths to feed, but as players turn into adults, the risks just become less and less worth it. Once guys get into their late teens, your interest
It's true, 50k per year is good. Don't get me wrong, it's good. But if you have, I don't know, it's 50k, it's not even a guaranteed 50k, Like, yeah, so I understand.
Just partying, drinking, university, relationships, and whatever the hell these guys are doing in these videos. And all of this take your mind and focus off of practicing their esports. And to compound that, the older they get, the more these responsibilities add up, like a long-term partner and kids, and this is obviously all very time-consuming. This is just going to lead to a lot less players in their 20s and 30s trying to become professional esports players, which means that the vast majority of these professionals will be younger in their teens. And here's the real secret sauce. A lot of the top 100 players in the world become victims to their own success. A lot of them, in particular in Fortnite, have earned so much money that they're already in positions to financially set themselves up for life. So they've achieved their goal, money that
Psalm. Damn. You guys remember Psalm, bro? What the fuck is he doing now, bro? Damn.
They're already in positions to financially set themselves up for life. So they've achieved their goals competitively and financially, which makes it even more difficult for them to justify continuing to grind something that they may not enjoy. Then the icing on the cake here is that their socials have probably exploded so much from becoming some of the best players in the world that they can then just make more money from
just like clicks, right? Didn't he one day like show his bank account and there was like 14 M's?
Let me show you something. Let me show you something.
Yo, Coach, look behind you, bitch.
On my stream. On my stream.
Imagine you have 40 M's in the bank and somebody trying to convince you to keep grinding Fortnite, fam. Like, I wouldn't. Yeah, I'm not gonna say what I would do, but like, yeah, tough.
content and streaming, so it really is no surprise there's such a turnaround once players hit 18. But is this avoidable? Well, I personally believe it is in 4 simple steps. Firstly, learn to enjoy the process. If these players are burnt out and hate the game, practicing will feel like a chore, and that will create a negative feedback loop where they'll become more burnt out and it'll just continue. In my interview with Malabuka after he won FNCS in Season 1, he said the main thing that still motivates him is that he just simply enjoys playing and competing in Fortnite, which is a really common trait in almost anyone who's successful at something for a long period of time. Hey, I really enjoy making Fortnite videos, hence why I'm still doing it over the last 4 years. Secondly, time. If you've played for 5 years and still have 0 earnings, the chance is you probably aren't going to be a top 10 player in the world. You're probably just not cut out genetically for it. The time invested into becoming the best player in the world is no joke, and it is not for everyone. If you're not in a position where you're okay with basically not making any money for a few years, attempting to play 10 hours a day to be the best may not be worth it for you, and maybe a different career path is a better choice. Thirdly, playstyle.
It's not for me. Like, being good at the game, like being like insanely good at the game was never something that like I actually tried to do. Like I just enjoyed the game. Like from the beginning, from season 2, chapter 1, from the beginning, I just liked having fun, playing with my friends and shit. And my friends, some of them, yeah, they were trying to be good, like practicing, like fucking box fights, zonos, whatever. And I was just, every time I would join their lobbies where they're like, we're practicing, I would just be there trolling because that's just what I like to do. I just liked having fun. Yes, there was a short moment where I was like, I was starting to get good and I was like, oh, this is actually fun. But then like, nah, it's not, I don't like it. I don't like it.
As players age, the reduction in their look doing latency will make them slower. However, this can be overcome by changing their playstyle. Rather than trying to be the fastest or most mechanical player in the world like Peterbot, watch how guys like TopsHD or Queasy play and try to mimic that playstyle. They play slower, more deliberate, and more controlled, and this actually increases their awareness, and for older players will negate the look doing latency decreases with time. Now these guys aren't that age yet, but their just playstyle is good to replicate. And lastly, health. Age-related diseases accelerate the rate of neural dysfunction, neuron loss, and cognitive decline, aka your brain's just not working very well anymore. This is also true physically, as poor posture for many years impacts your lower back, shoulder, elbow, and wrist health over a long period. So ensuring you exercise, sleep well, and have good nutrition, and of course manage your stress, all
That's
become...
why like now pro players, not all of them, but like if you look at Mongrel, Clicks, Savage, like they go to the gym and shit, bro. Like they don't look like the average fucking geek boy that you would think of like back in the day.
More important the older you are, so you can actually continue to practice. Now, I may not be the best player in the world, but I did become the best player in Scotland for 6 days, and you can see exactly how I did that by clicking on this video right here.
Alright, not happening, big boy. Thank you, Riz. So we now know why I fucking stink. It's basically that's why I stink is because I don't want to be good. I think that's literally it. It's like I don't have not only do I not have the time, but there's times I don't enjoy the game that much, and Health? No, I think I'm pretty healthy, even though I don't go gym, but still, like, I think that's good. But yeah, we now have the answer to why I fucking stink and why some of y'all might also stink. If you enjoyed this video, don't forget to leave a like, subscribe, check Race Hub. Is that how you pronounce? I don't even know. Reese Hub, whatever his name is, in the description. And peace.